His hand was already on my thigh when I felt the first shiver run through me. I shouldn't have let it get that far, but the way his eyes pinned me, the way his breath lingered against my skin, it was like my body had already betrayed me before I could even whisper no. God, I remember the words sliding out of me in a broken moan, low and helpless. My lips parted, not for refusal, but for more of what I should have resisted. And that's where you find me tonight, confessing this madness, laying bare what I can't take back. Before I dive deeper into this mess, let me pause to say, if you've ever been tangled in forbidden desire, if you've ever let your lust blind your reason, then you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe, to like this story, and to share it with someone who knows what it means to ache for what they shouldn't have. Trust me, this ride is only just starting. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. He wasn't supposed to be anything more than a familiar presence in my house, a younger man, full of life, carrying himself with a kind of reckless confidence that only youth wears so boldly. He would walk in with that easy smile, a casual laugh, and suddenly the rooms of my home that once felt so still began to hum with something dangerous. I told myself it was harmless. That a look was only a look. That a laugh was only a laugh. But deep down, I knew. Every time his eyes lingered too long, every time my skin burned under the accidental brush of his hand, a quiet storm built inside me. It was the kind of storm a woman my age wasn't supposed to feel anymore, the kind that made me forget about the lines of years on my face, the kind that made me feel like a woman starving for touch, not a grandmother clinging to dignity. The first slip was simple. Innocent on the surface. He was helping me carry groceries into the kitchen, his body close behind mine as he set the bags on the counter. I bent a little, and when I straightened, his chest brushed my back. For a second, I felt the warmth of him pressed against me. I froze. He didn't. His hand steadied me, fingers spread wide against my hip, lingering a moment too long. And I swear, I let out the faintest moan before I even realized it escaped me. That single sound changed everything. He heard it. He knew it. And in the silence that followed, our eyes locked. From that moment, we weren't just two people sharing space. We were two bodies caught in a pull neither of us could name out loud. I should stop here, shouldn't I? But no, if you're still listening, you want more. And believe me, so did I. Halfway through this story, I'll remind you again, tap that subscribe button, leave a like, and share this tale of lust and regret. Because what I'm about to admit will take us further down a road I never thought I'd walk. That night, I lay in bed replaying that small moment. The brush of his chest, the grip of his hand on my hip, the sound of my own betraying moan. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't help pressing my thighs together as I remembered. My breath came shallow, my fingers restless, and before I knew it, I was imagining him beside me instead of the cold emptiness of my sheets. I knew then. I was slipping. And once you start slipping, you don't stop until you fall. The next time it happened, it wasn't an accident. I told myself I wouldn't let it go any further. I told myself I had imagined the way his hand lingered, the way his eyes burned with something unspoken. But when he walked into my kitchen that evening, sweat glistening down his neck from working outside, my resolve dissolved like sugar in hot water. He smiled at me. That boyish, cocky smile. And my knees nearly gave way. Need help with dinner? He asked, voice casual, but his eyes locked on mine in a way that was anything but casual. I should have said no. I should have kept the distance. Instead, I nodded. My heart pounded like a drumbeat of guilt, of desire, of warning. He came up behind me while I chopped vegetables. Close, too close. His breath ghosted across my ear. You always smell so good, he whispered. My hand trembled on the knife. My lips parted. And before I could stop myself, a small moan slipped free. God, that sound. It betrayed me again. His hand slid over mine, guiding the knife away, pressing my palms flat against the counter. His chest pressed into my back, firm, hot, solid. You don't have to pretend with me, he murmured. I shook my head weakly, but I didn't move away. My body leaned back into him, hungry for his touch. My thighs clenched together, desperate and shameful. Then his hands slid down, slow, deliberate, finding my hip again, the very place that had lit this fire the first time. "Please," I whispered, though I wasn't sure if I was begging him to stop or begging him to never stop at all. He didn't ask. He just turned me around, caging me between the counter and his body. His lips hovered over mine, close enough to steal the air from my lungs. And I broke. I kissed him first. It wasn't soft. It wasn't gentle. It was wild, messy, desperate. A woman starved too long, finally tasting what she'd been denied. Our mouths crashed together, my moans swallowed by his lips, his hands gripping me as if he'd been waiting forever. Halfway through, I'll pause to remind you, if you've ever felt this kind of reckless hunger, if you've ever been caught between sin and salvation, then hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share this story with someone who knows how lust can burn through reason. Because this is only the beginning of my undoing. When his hand slipped under my blouse, I gasped, arching against him. His touch was fire. Every nerve in my body lit up, every part of me screaming for more even as my mind whispered warnings. "You feel this too," he said against my lips. "Don't deny it." And I didn't. I couldn't. I let him explore me, his fingers tracing skin I hadn't let anyone touch in years. That night, in my kitchen, against the counter where I had cooked for my family for decades, I lost the first real piece of myself to him. It wasn't just a slip anymore. It was a plunge. And once you taste that kind of ecstasy, there is no going back. That night I lay awake again, trembling with aftershocks of what we'd done. My body still hummed with his touch, my lips swollen from his kiss. But beneath the pleasure, beneath the reckless thrill, a seed of regret planted itself deep inside me. Because I knew, this wasn't going to stop. This was just the beginning. I told myself I wouldn't let it happen again. I told myself the kiss, the touch, the madness in the kitchen, it was just a moment of weakness. But weakness has a way of repeating itself. And the next time we were alone, I didn't resist. I couldn't. It was late. The house was quiet, shadows stretching long across the walls. He was in the living room, sprawled on the couch, his shirt tossed carelessly on the floor, leaving his chest bare and glistening faintly under the lamplight. I paused in the hallway, clutching my robe closed, my breath trembling. I should have gone upstairs. I should have walked away. Instead, I stepped into the room. And his eyes devoured me instantly. "You can't keep looking at me like that," I whispered. He smirked, leaning back, arms stretched across the couch as if daring me to come closer. "Then stop moaning every time I touch you," he shot back, his voice low, teasing, dangerous. My knees weakened at his words. My cheeks flushed hot. Because he was right. Every touch, every graze, every stolen kiss had left me gasping, trembling, moaning like a woman half my age. And I hated how much I craved it. I sank down beside him, but he didn't wait. His hand slipped to the back of my neck, pulling me into another kiss. This one deeper. Harder. As if he wanted to drink me whole. I moaned again, helpless against the sound. It spilled from me, raw and meaty, filling the room. His hands roamed, sliding down my side, gripping my thigh, pulling me across his lap. My robe fell open, bearing too much, but I didn't close it. I let him see. I let him take. Every kiss, every touch, every stroke dragged me deeper into the ocean of him. I was drowning, and God help me, I didn't want saving. Halfway through, let me remind you, if you're caught up in this storm with me, if you feel the heat of this forbidden pull, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who understands how lust can trap you. This is only getting wilder. When his lips moved from my mouth to my neck, I threw my head back, a loud moan escaping into the silence. His tongue traced fire across my skin, his teeth grazing, his breath hot. "You taste like sin," he murmured. And I believed him. My fingers dug into his shoulders, desperate, clutching as if letting go would mean losing the only thing keeping me alive. I shouldn't have wanted it. But want doesn't need permission. It takes, it consumes, it burns. And with every thrust of his body against mine, every stolen sound that left my lips, I was sinking further, helpless, reckless, undone. Later, when I lay sprawled across him, sweaty and trembling, my chest rising and falling against his, guilt seeped into the cracks of my pleasure. What was I doing? How had I let it go this far? But as he stroked my hair, whispering my name like a secret, I knew the truth. I didn't care. Not anymore. I was already lost in him. And the deeper I sank, the more I wanted to drown. I used to think lust was a passing storm. Something wild that came fast, tore through the night, and left wreckage behind. But with him, my storm never passed. It stayed. It grew. It consumed. Every time we were in the same room, the air grew heavy, charged, thick with something I couldn't resist. It didn't matter if sunlight poured through the curtains, or if the moon watched us from the dark, every moment became a stage for my weakness. That weakness had a name. A face. A body that tempted me beyond reason. And a mouth that knew exactly how to steal my moans before I even realized they were leaving me. One afternoon, I told myself I'd keep my distance. I wore my robe tight, hair tied, lips bare of color. No temptation, no chance. But when he walked in, shirtless again, his sweat glistening from the backyard, dirt smudged across his arms, my resolve shattered like glass. "You're staring again," he teased, tossing his towel aside, his grin sharp, wicked. "I'm not," I whispered, but my voice betrayed me, trembling. He stepped closer. My back pressed against the kitchen counter. His hand lifted my chin until my eyes had nowhere to run. "You're lying," he said softly. And then his lips were on mine, stealing my breath, my reason, my sanity. This kiss wasn't gentle. It was rough, demanding, hungry. The kind of kiss that didn't ask permission. And the sound that ripped out of me, the deep, shameless moan, I couldn't hold it back even if I tried. His hands roamed fast, pulling at my robe, bearing me piece by piece, until I was trembling, naked, vulnerable under his heat. "God," I gasped, clutching at him, "you'll ruin me." "Maybe that's what you want," he whispered against my ear. And my moans answered louder than my lips ever could. Halfway through, let me remind you, if you're drowning in this forbidden heat with me, don't just sit there. Tap that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this story. You don't want to miss how deep this addiction goes. The counter became our battlefield. His hands gripped my waist, lifting me, spreading me wide. I wrapped around him, lost to every thrust, every groan, every sinful rhythm that pushed me further into the fire. I moaned until my throat ached, until my voice cracked, until the sound of me filled the house like a confession I couldn't take back. Each moment with him wasn't just lust anymore, it was a craving, a hunger, an addiction clawing into my bones. And I fed it. Again. And again. After, I collapsed against him, my body still trembling, sweat slick across my skin. My lips brushed his shoulder, and for a flicker of a second, I wanted to cry. Because I knew I was too far gone. I couldn't stop. Even if it killed me. He tilted my chin, kissed me softly this time. "You're mine now," he murmured. And though I didn't speak, though guilt knifed through me, my silence was its own kind of answer. Because I already knew he was right. I was addicted. I was his. And no one could rescue me now. There's a sound I can't forget. Not his voice. Not even his laugh. It's my own moans, echoing in my head, haunting me when I lie awake at night. They weren't just sounds of pleasure anymore. They were confessions. Confessions of a woman who crossed every line she swore she never would. The nights with him had gotten darker. Wilder. Almost reckless. What started as stolen touches turned into hours of madness, limbs tangled, my body begging for more even when I had nothing left to give. He knew me too well now. Knew every spot that made me cry out, every breath that would break into a moan, every weakness I thought I could hide. And I let him destroy me, one night at a time. One evening, it all went too far. I was in his room, sprawled across sheets that smelled of him, my robe discarded on the floor. He hovered over me, eyes burning, body pressed heavy and demanding. The first thrust stole my breath. The second pulled a scream from my chest. By the third, I wasn't just moaning. I was unraveling. Louder, he whispered, gripping my wrists against the pillow. And I did. God help me, I did. I screamed his name like it was the only word I'd ever learned. But somewhere, beneath the heat, guilt clawed its way in. Every moan felt like a nail in my own coffin. Every shiver felt like a betrayal written across my skin. Every release left me hollow, broken, drowning. And when he collapsed beside me, still breathing heavy, I stared at the ceiling with tears sliding down my temples. "What's wrong?" he asked, brushing my cheek. "Nothing," I lied, forcing a smile. But inside, I was bleeding. Halfway in, let me remind you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share if this ride has you hooked. Because this is where lust stops being pleasure, and starts being punishment. The days after, I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't even look at myself in the mirror without hearing my own moans replay like a cruel soundtrack. My husband kissed me goodnight, and all I could taste was guilt. He asked me about dinner, and all I could hear was the echo of my cries under another man's weight. I thought about ending it. Ending me. One night, the pills sat heavy in my palm, the bottle open on the counter. My heart raced, my hands shook, and my tears dripped onto the cold tiles. But I couldn't do it. I was weak. Weak for him. Weak for the lust that tied me in chains I couldn't break. I told myself I'd stop. That I'd walk away, erase the number, lock the door. But the moment he texted, "I need you tonight," my body betrayed me. And I went. I always went. By the end, it wasn't lust anymore. It was suicide in slow motion. Every moan dragged me closer to a death of my soul, even if my body still begged for more. I wasn't just in his arms. I was buried in them. And I knew, when this ended, when the fire burned itself out, there'd be nothing left of me but ash. That's why I'm here, telling you this story. Not because I want sympathy. Not because I want judgment. But because lust, when it owns you, doesn't give you rescue. It only gives you ruin. And I drowned in it.